Hi, my name is Ethan. I'm a senior in high school. I was recently admitted to Parsons, the new school of design in New York City, which I will be attending starting in fall 2018. I will be majoring in communication design. I just thought I'd make a portfolio video real quick just to, help anybody either applying to Parsons or other art schools. Okay, so my first photo is called Lost in Thought. This is my basis for the Parsons Challenge, but I'll get into that later. But this photo I took basically as a, day in a life type of thing, following my friend home after school. It was sort of to show vulnerability when you're not in school, and I did this project to sort of show that people are different, in school versus out of school. And so as you can see, it's a girl laying on her bed, sort of looking pretty stressed and stuff. And something that I really like about this photo is that in the back of it, it says the advantages of being a female artist. I think that that's like really powerful because, personally, because I know this girl is really politically active, and I think that based on everything going on in our country, it just shows that there is a need to act up. I'm not putting that in, wow. So my next photo is called Giving. This was from when I went to Cuba with an organization called J-Teen Leadership. I went to Cuba in February 2016. It was really powerful. I went with about 20 other teens. So this is a photo from a particularly poor area of Havana. And it was really amazing. We were giving out food and candy and toiletries to people on the streets who really, really needed it, because in Havana, well, in Cuba in general, they have nothing. And this picture I sort of just took on the spur of the moment, but it ended up being really good. You can see like the girl in the right handing the old woman her candy and stuff, and the woman just looks so happy and everything. God, it's terrible. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Every time you say Havana, I'm like, Havana, ooh-la-la.
So my next photo is called Fright, and this is my cousin. I basically just saw the lighting on the floor like this, and I was like, oh my god, Eli, lie down, I'm taking a picture. And so he basically made that face, but looking back and like when I was writing about it in my portfolio, it really stuck with me that I took this photo on January 21st, 2017. For those of you who don't know, January 21st, 2017 was the day of the Women's March in the United States, which was, if you don't know, a big protest march that happened all around the country to basically protest the inauguration of Trump. And so looking back, this photo is really powerful because you basically see this little kid and he looks like really, really frightened. And I know like I was frightened by the election where Trump won, and so just a little food for thought there. So my next photo is called Subway Life, and this was a photo that I took on the subway in New York City. It was a really, really crowded subway in the middle of the summer, so it was pretty hot. And I just took the photo, and it ended up coming out really good. You can tell that there's so much emotion with all the people. People are tired, they're annoyed it's so hot. This was taken at like 5 p.m. on a weekday in July. My next photo is one called Celebrate. It's from the New York City LGBT Pride Parade this year in June. And so this was my friend Sydney, and she basically was holding the flag, and I was like, oh my god, put it on next to your face. And I took a bunch of pictures, and this was my favorite one out of the series. So yeah, it basically just shows a need for equality. And a little fun fact, this was taken right outside of Parsons. So the next portfolio piece is a observational drawing piece that I did on a map, and so it's called Megan's Map because it's a picture of my friend Megan, and I basically drew her face on a map using pointillism. A really cool thing about this project is, so if you take the map and you flip it around, it's actually the Hudson Bay, and I was like, wait, like it would be so cool if I can like put a person's face in it, and so I ended up doing that with my friend. So I pretty much used pointillism for all of it. And yeah, it took me a while, but I'm really happy with the end result. So my next portfolio piece is called Carlos, a memory project assignment. And so basically this was a project that I had in my AP art class at school where it's called the memory project. And so my art teacher gets a bunch of photos from the organization, and they basically go to really disadvantaged cities in poor countries. So like, for example, this one was from the Philippines. And so I was assigned basically a picture of a person, and then I had to like draw it, you know, a cool way, put it into Photoshop, a cool way to, you know, whatever. And so I ended up putting it into Photoshop and creating a really cool graphic design piece of that. And then all the pieces done by me and the rest of my classmates were sent to the people ahead of Christmas, for them to get like a little present because they are in need of so much. But yeah, I only really put this in because I thought it was really strong. It wasn't something that I totally came up on my own because it wasn't, you know, an assignment I decided of, but I was really happy with the way it came out, and I know that my teacher was too, so I figured might be a good thing to add in. So my next piece is called Smile Dog. This was done on Scratchboard, and so basically this is my dog Snickers, and I saw her looking at the window a certain way, and I was like, this compositionally is really good. So I ended up taking a picture and then using that as the basis for this project. And so I got Scratchboard and I basically traced the photo onto it and then used the carving tool to carve it. And something that's really cool about Scratchboard in my opinion is that you can make the widths of all the marks, you know, really detailed, and this is something that in my opinion is really hard to do with pencil and stuff. So yeah, that's why I specifically chose to do an animal with fur for the Scratchboard. So my next portfolio piece is called Rise Up and Resist, and this is a project I actually worked on at Parsons Summer Pre-College Intensive this year, which I highly recommend anybody goes to. I can talk about it later on, but so this was basically a project where we had to create a poster. I am really engaged with politics, especially now, and so I decided to do something anti-Trump. I know the term, you know, resist, you know, all of that, but I think that, you know, you can resist certain things that the government is doing, but, you know, are you really gonna do it? And that's how I feel just with a lot of people, at least that are my age. You know, they all say, oh, I hate Trump, and blah, 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 but I'm like, okay, but you're not doing anything about it. And I feel like as Americans, there are so many things that we can be doing. We have so many rights that I think we take for granted. I mean, it's just as little as voting, and I think that we are definitely seeing some aftermaths of how people are responding to our government. Look at, you know, the Alabama election and all the other elections that have happened since Donald Trump was elected. And so that's basically what this piece is. It's about getting people to rise up and like resist, like get like, you need to like lead, like nobody's gonna tell you just to do something, like you have to be the one to do it. And I think that it's really just sort of like a message to stop with just like lying there and saying that you hate Trump, like actually like do something about it. And I think that that's basically what America was founded on. So this was a project that I turned into a much bigger project than I anticipated. I basically ended up making stickers. I made a shirt, a bag. It turned more into like a campaign type thing. But I'm still printing stickers and like all my friends love them, and it's like a big thing that I'm really proud of. So my next project was called Break the Barrier. So basically this was a huge event in and of itself. It's part of JServe, which is the International Day of Jewish Youth Service. I am part of JServe through J-Teen Leadership, which is another organization I'm a part of. This past year, I was the chair for JServe along with 2 other people, and our project was about tackling mental health, and so we chose the name Break the Barrier from that. I ended up making the logo and a bunch of other things for the project, but one thing specifically I made was a Snapchat geofilter. And I don't think putting a Snapchat geofilter that you might have made into your portfolio is the smartest idea, but I think that for me it worked because I was showing how something I made for another project was utilized. And so I basically showed a picture of a girl sitting in front of the camera, as you can see, and she was talking about, you know, just how mental health relates to her and how it's important, why it's important. And so then we put the logo on top of that for Snapchat. But I put it in my portfolio to show my sort of activism side, but also show my creative side with the logo. So my next piece is a book spread that I also made at Parsons this past summer. Basically, my inspiration for this, as you can tell, was Dear Evan Hansen. If you don't know what Dear Evan Hansen is, it's a major Broadway musical. I really loved what I did with this because I took the song Waving Through a Window, which if you don't know, great song, listen. And I basically took a picture of my friend from Parsons, and I was like, just look, you know, vulnerable, look scared, look, you know, unsure. And so then, you know, I took that photo, and then basically that turned into the book spread. I took the way the sound of the music, and the melody and the lyrics all feel to me. I took what I thought of them, and then I basically turned that into typography. So, you know, when it says like, on the outside, always looking in, and I did that, you know, indoor, you know, blackout sort of effect. That was all because, I mean, that's how I interpreted the lyrics, and I think that that's something that's pretty cool. And I think that the more in depth you go with typography for certain reasons, it will help you in the long run. So my last piece in the portfolio was a branding concept, and so I made basically a company called TSIP, which is basically a tea company, but I sort of took it sort of to the next level in the sense that I didn't just want to do branding for a tea shop. I thought that could be sort of boring, so I sort of made it like a little cafe. You can see I have a mock-up of, you know, some signage, some package design, and just different slogans and stuff for the store. Basically used a color palette, some font that, you know, was sort of modern, but also like sort of, you know, aesthetic looking, and I basically just wanted to sell people this concept. And so, you know, different from like Starbucks, which is like coffee, tea, frappuccino, like I really wanted to just like strictly do tea with, you know, like snacks and sandwiches on the side. Yeah, I mean, there's not so much more I can go into that, but that's basically what I did there. So then, getting back to my Parsons challenge, so the Parsons challenge is you have to take something in your portfolio and you have to expand upon it. So you take something in the portfolio and you create another piece based on it. So for me, I originally was going to do a piece based on the Rise Up and Resist poster and create a huge campaign around it, but as I was doing it, I ended up thinking this is, number one, really, really challenging, and number two, I just need a ton of time just to like really think about how I can do it and how it could be effective. And I think that that's just something that communication design already is just all about. You know, you really need to show like how you can show a concept to others and have them buy it, basically. So I ended up deciding not to continue with that for my Parsons challenge, and I decided that I really liked the theme of vulnerability and showing people, you know, as their true selves. And so what I mean by this is I really like the theme of, you know, like when you're with your friends and you're having a great time, you might seem a certain way, but like you really might be upset. And, you know, when you get home, the way you act at home is most likely very different than the way that you act when you with your friends and in public and stuff. So to go back to my portfolio, the piece Lost in Thought of my friend Harriet, this was a piece of her basically at home, you know, lost in thought, thinking about everything going on, you know, school, college, family, you know, everything. And then I know, just because I'm friends with her, that there is another side to her. And so then I decided, let's go to the city. I live in Westchester, New York, if you didn't know. So I figured, let's go to the city. And so what we basically did was we had a date planned, but I basically said, okay, walk around. So I brought Harriet and our friend Saul, and so we basically just walked around Washington Square Park, the whole village area, and I just filmed everything. So in the long run, I could have made a longer video because I just had so much footage, but I was advised to not, and I think for me and this concept, making a short, you know, 2-minute video just on this like really brief thing was so much more effective than creating a huge thing. I will link my Parsons challenge video in the description box below. But this basically segues into my whole thing about how less is more, and I think that I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, and so I think that you know, everything must be, you know, tip-top perfect, and like there must be so much to that if one thing isn't good, you know, you have it a certain way. But I've learned to realize that less is more. Less is more. I think that same thing, like, and I just know this from talking to admissions counselors and talking to my art teachers and all that. Admissions counselors don't have time to look through a whole thing, you know, from start to finish. And so, you know, if you're creating a video as a portfolio piece, whether it's for Parsons or for RISD or, you know, for wherever, it don't waste your time making a 10-minute movie. There's no point. And that goes the same way with, you know, ordering your stuff in your portfolio. The way that people look at your portfolio is through thumbnails. If they want to go into bigger, they can. From what I understand, it's just so much, you need to think about how it looks overall. And so if you have a ton of pictures of your work that everything's so detailed and crazy, it might just be too much. Also, just really quickly, I think that each school looks for different things. So, you know, Parsons, it's definitely not looking for like that you have these types of observational drawings and this exact type of photo and this and that. But then there are schools like FIT and RISD and SVA that are looking for certain types of things. And so I think that, and I'm taking this from personal experience, I think that you just need to try your best, and for the most part, the schools know that you're not going into a career of drawing. You're not going into a career of observational, you know, drawing of yourself. And so I think that for me, I was really worried about that. Try your best, and ultimately, you know, whatever, it all works out. Just a quick few shout outs. So I went to Parsons pre-summer, if you didn't understand, because I said it a million times in this video, but I worked in a graphic design class, which was taught by Annette Millington. She's taught me so much. She helped me create the Rise Up and Resist, the book spread, and a bunch of other projects. I also worked with a portfolio advisor just to help me just, you know, organize everything. And so her name is Lorraine Serra. She has a business of portfolio advising through Skype. I can link her website down below, but she's great. And then all my other teachers that have just helped me. But yeah, so follow me on Instagram. All my info is below. And if you're going to Parsons for fall 2018, see you there.
Feet on the ground and we talk.